Hi everyone, I am Olga and welcome to my channel Happy Look. Today I am excited to showcase this awesome crochet Sun Visor crafted from Raffia. It's my original design, and through the link below the video you'll find the full guide and PDF files. This video isn't a comprehensive tutorial, but it'll give you a glimpse into how I create this trendy headwear. Watch along to see the process and decide if you want to join me on this exciting journey. We'll be crocheting only in front rows. We begin with the band, starting with a few rows of back bar single crochet stitches, then a few rows of split single crochet or waistcoat stitches, and finishing this part with a few more rows of back bar single crochet stitches. The visor is not sewn on. We start it here with the short rows of waistcoat stitches and this part with a few rows of black bar single crochet stitches. This technique is more advanced than simple turning rows, but it's worth the effort. The visor feature is wide brim at the front to provide shade and a band that encircles the head, which is wider at the front and narrows towards the back. The back of the band is open and can be adjusted to fit any head size using a lacing system made of eye-chain stitches. Instead of lacing, you could sew white ribbons to tie a bow, or you could make this part of the crown longer to overlap and sew on some Velcro. However, Velcro isn't the best option for headwear as it can snag your hair, which is why I prefer lacing. You can also sew a cotton tape inside for extra comfort. I really like the shape of the visor and band, and turned out to be a very harmonious headwear. Alright, let's see what we need for work. I'm going to use the Weilmay Industrial Raffia, also known as Raffia SP. It comes in 250 meters, 120 grams, and will need less than one spool. The recommended hook size is 2.5 3 millimeters. I'll use a 3 millimeters hook. Eco-friendly material. You can wash it by hand and steam. This is a major natural viscose fiber made from palm straw. The very good yarn, soft and pleasant to the touch. The heads crafted from it are very light and comfortable. You can use any other yarn, but then you need an appropriate hook and you should adjust the number of rows and stitches. We also need some stitch markers or pins, measuring tape, scissors, thread and needle, and 60 centimeters of 2.5 cm wide grosgrain ribbon for the interior band. Try to match the color of the yarn. Additionally, you'll need 1 meter of rigilene or ordinary fishing line, 1.5 or 2 millimeters thick, and a bit of scotch tape. I'll use this 2-string rigilene. I'm going to cut it lengthwise, use one string, and tape it up with a scotch tape. So let's get started. For my size 57 headband, the length is 51 centimeters. And I'm going to begin with a basic chain using my favorite technique known as a double chain or half eye chain. The length of the yarn tail end should be 3 times the length of our desired finished chain. For me, it's approximately 150 centimeters. First, make a slip knot. Here we have the yarn from the skein, and here is the tail end yarn. Then we'll begin with the yarn under, using the tail end yarn, followed by a yarn over, using a yarn from the skein. Pull that yarn through both loops on our hook. Repeat this process, yarn under with the tail end yarn, yarn over with the skein yarn, and pull it through both loops of our hook. yarn under with the tail end yarn, yarn over with the skein yarn, and pull it through. You'll notice that as you get the hang of it, you can pick up speed. This process becomes quite fast after the first few stitches. I'm going to create a chain of 70 loops. This number is calculated based on the pattern and should be approximately 50-52 centimeters in length. I must admit that the first chain turned out to be short, so I had to crochet another one more loosely. Continue crocheting with the double chain technique until you reach the desired length of your chain. Our chain now is 51 centimeters long, and we are going to make chain of 2 to bring up the yarn, chain of 72 in total. And that chain 2 will be the very first stitch of our first row. Find the second stitch from your hook, 1, 2. We want to insert our hook into the second chain, just like this, under both loops. I'm going to put this tail on the top and work around it. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. You have just made your first single crochet. Move to the next chain, insert your hook under both loops, yarn over, pull through the chain, yarn over again and pull through both loops. Repeat the steps in each chain until you reach the end of your double chain. Keep going just like this all the way across. We didn't need such a long tail. Let's cut it off and finish our row. I'm finishing the row. I have slip knot left and I'm going to work single crochet into it. I have 71 stitches in total. At this stage, it's essential to check the length. Mine is 51 centimeters. For the lacing, it should be shorter than your head size, and for the Velcro, it should be longer. And what I'm going to do is to secure the last loop. Pull up the last loop a bit to give yourself some space. Now take the entire skein of yarn and pull it through that loop. Tighten the loop gently to fasten it off without cutting the yarn. Then I lay the yarn over the row from the end back to the beginning and work, making sure to crochet around the tail so you can weave it in as you go and tie it in. I prefer not to have too many yarn tails to weave in later, so you can just measure it out. I have about 51 centimeters. and then pin it right here. Make sure this length of yarn isn't too tight. It's better for it to be a bit loose rather than too tight, so it doesn't pull on your back. Now we are going to join to the very first stitch of the row, which is our chain of 2. And then we'll continue crocheting through the back bar. When looking at the crochet work from the back side, you'll notice a row of inverted V's. Above those, there are small horizontal ridges or bars. We'll insert the hook underneath those bars. So insert the hook not under the second chain, but into the first chain and through the back bar. That will be our first stitch. Yarn over and pull through both loops. I forgotten to chain 1 to bring up the yarn, and please make sure to do it, it's important. You can remove this pin, and now we'll single crochet into the back bar across the row. For the next stitch, insert the hook under the back bar. This yarn should be on top. We are crocheting around it to conceal. Yarn over and pull through. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. That's your single crochet into the back bar. Find the next back bar, insert your hook right under that bump. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over again and pull through both loops. Keep working single crochet into the back bar all the way across the row. Insert your hook into the back bar and back single crochet. See, thanks to this technique, we are forming a decorative raised stripe. If it's challenging for you, you can crochet these rows using waistcoat stitches, but it won't look as nice. Actually, it's not too difficult. It's just that my crocheting is a bit far from me under the camera, and it's not very convenient. So keep going just like this until you reach the end of the row. I'm finishing up the row and want to show you what to do of this yarn tail is pulling your piece. I'll tighten it now to demonstrate. We simply cut it off and continue crocheting around. Then you can tidy up the crochet work and the tail will remain inside and won't cause any pulling. If you are already finished the row and notice that the yarn is pulling, you can pull it from inside and cut it. So I'm finishing off by walking into the very last stitch and fastening it without cutting the yarn. Now I am going to lay the yarn over the row, pinning it in place and making sure that this yarn isn't pulling. Now we are going to join to the very first stitch of the row. Don't forget about chain 1. Let's remove the pins right away and proceed. We are going to continue single crocheting through the back bar. So I'm finishing. Here's what I do. I insert the hook under those 2 loops, then into that loop and work a single crochet. Now I'm going to fasten it off without cutting and lay the yarn over the row, pinning it in place and making sure that this yarn isn't pulling. Then I'm going to work 1 more row with back bar single crochet. But if your head shape doesn't have a high crown, or if you want to make the band narrower, then skip this row and proceed to the next step. Now we are going to join to the very first stitch of the row, inserting the hook not under those 2 loops, but into the first stitch of the previous row. Chain 1. Let's remove the pins right away and continue single crocheting through the back bar. Now I've finished 4 rows, cut the yarn and fastened it off. Next, we need to find and mark the middle. I have 35 stitches on the right and 35 stitches on the left. I'm going to begin the front part and crochet the 5th row with 9 stitches. Count 4 stitches from the middle and join the yarn into the back bar of that 4th stitch. That will be our first stitch. You can remove the pin now. Don't tighten this loop, it should be looser. Chain 1. I'm going to work with back bar single crochet stitches. Make sure the tail is inside as we will crochet over it right away. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now we can cut this tail. Pull this last loop. Now look, this is the back bar of the next stitch. Don't touch it. Instead, insert the hook here early, grab the loop, pull it through and fasten it off without cutting. Here is what we got. Good job. Then I lay the yarn over the short row back to the beginning and work pinning it and making sure it doesn't tighten too much. Let's count the third loop from the beginning of the first row and join behind the back bar. Make sure the yarn isn't too tight here. You can remove the pin. Chain 1. This is our first stitch of the second row. Let's continue. 2, 3, 4. We've reached the first stitch of the previous row. It's a special one. Insert the hook diagonally. Look, we are only catching the left leg of the stitch and insert the hook here. Not in the center, but diagonally, like this. And we complete our unusual waistcoat stitch. That's 4. Next, as usual, the waistcoat stitch. Insert the hook in the center V. And from the back, it comes out in the middle of the stitch as well. 5, 6. Again, insert the hook in the middle of the stitch, not under these 2 loops, but here into the V. Don't tighten too much to make it easy to crochet. The stitches should be voluminous, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the last stitch in the 5th row. Then continue with single crochet into back bar in the next 3 stitches of the 4th row. So 13, 14, 15. Pull that last loop. Here is the back bar of the next stitch. Insert the hook early into any loop. Grab the loop, pull it through and fasten it off. My congratulations! We've completed our second short row. Then I lay the yarn over our short row back to the beginning and work pinning it and making sure it doesn't tighten too much. Let's count the third stitch from the beginning of the first row and join into the back bar. Chain 1. Make sure that first stitch isn't too tight here. Work loosely. That's our special stitch. Insert the hook diagonally, like this, and we complete our unusual waistcoat stitches. Waistcoat stitch in the next. Insert the hook in the center V, and from the back it comes out in the middle of the stitch as well. And then back waistcoat stitch in the next stitches until the end of the previous short row. Don't tighten too much to make it easy to crochet. The stitches should be voluminous. I have one stitch left. Then continue with single crochet into back bar in the next 3 stitches of the first row. I will allow you to crochet the next few rows according to the pattern on the screen on your own, and then we'll meet at the end of the 14th row. You should control the height of the band. If you feel it's too tall for you, crochet fewer rows. So I finished this part, steamed it. I'll show you later how it's done. On this side, I have 4 stitches left and also 4 stitches on the other side. We attach to the very first loop. Chain 1. And now I am going to single crochet into the back bar in the next 4 rows. If you want, you can crochet fewer that rows. Now look, here is the first stitch of the previous row, our chain 1. There is no back bar here, so we crochet into any loop below, like this. Continue working on your own. We'll meet back at the end. So I finished 4 rows of back bar single crochet. Let's fasten off our yarn and lay it over this side to the beginning of a double chain. Right here. Now I am going to attach to the very first stitch and work a row of slip stitches. Insert the hook under 2 loops, yarn over, pull through all. Insert the hook under 2 loops in the next stitch. See, we are now working along the double chain that we made at the very beginning. So yarn over, pull through all. Try not to tighten too much, crochet this row loosely. This will be a foundation row, which will be joining when we create the visor. So I finished with that, fasten off and cut the yarn. The headband is completely ready, and that concludes the first part of our tutorial. If you're interested in continuing this project, you can find the rest of the tutorial by following the link below the video. This is my original design, and I've put a lot of efforts into developing the model, creating the video tutorial, and preparing the PDF instructions. And I'm very glad that I finally finished this work and can offer you a complete tutorial. Thank you for staying with me, and I hope to see you again. Bye bye.